Good evening and welcome to another community forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell. Of course, Chris Diali, co-host. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron, and good evening to our viewers. Pleasure again to be here.
Well, I'm just looking at the monitor and I'm not seeing anyone on the monitor, Chris. I don't know what's happening. But we have an interesting program for you if you're hearing me. We have representatives this evening, representatives from the Grenada National Training Agency. And we're talking about skills training, youth, opportunities and what this means for our country. So viewers, please stay with us. We'll take a short break to hear from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Community Forum comes to you in association with the Grenada Development Bank.
Are you concerned about the impact of climate change on your home or business? The Enhanced Direct Access Climate Adaptation Revolving Fund at the Grenada Development Bank can make your worries a thing of the past. The fund offers concessional financing to households and businesses, focusing on vulnerable populations such as lower-income families and persons with special needs. You could qualify for up to EC $200,000 with an incredibly low interest rate of just 2% annually. With this funding, you can make essential improvements such as building retaining walls for erosion control, making structural improvements to withstand hurricanes, and installing water-efficient bathroom solutions. Take action today. Contact the GDB at 440-2382 to learn more about how you can apply for this funding opportunity. Let's work together to create a climate-resilient nation. The Enhanced Direct Access Project is financed by the Green Climate Fund through the Government of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, of course, to Community Forum. Chris, another week, another dollar, you say? Or?
Yes, another week, eventful week.
Yeah.
I mean, in Grenada, I think the business, a lot of us are in the business community are priming up. The 25% I expect will be paid on the 15th of this month.
It will, but okay, interesting point. One public worker told me that, however, their second payment will be post-Christmas. And they're not comfortable about this. They prefer a situation where they get all their money, like even though it's the 17th or the 18th, but now they're getting half, and the other half comes after Christmas. So,
The other way of looking at that, you don't have to wait 6 weeks to get a pay in January as we used to do it in the past.
Yes.
You're getting half of pay, half in December, half in January. So
it's like you can't have your cake and eat it.
Exactly. I mean, you have to look at the other side of the coin.
Chris, I thought there's some interesting development this week. Developments that I like, that I favor. Let me tell you what it is. It's the whole Kawana Bay issue around the question of the Rivera Heroes Park and the Silver Sands new facilities open. That's big. That's a good thing, Chris.
Well,
what's your take?
I thought it was a brilliant move on behalf of the government. The swap.
Yeah.
For Rivera, and they got $8 million worth, and for exchange, the gentleman with Silver Sands would get Kawana Bay for 99-year lease or whatever lease to develop and bring. And when you look at it, Rivera, in terms of size, couldn't facilitate a high-end 5-star hotel. So if I am in Najib's shoes and advising, that's a good deal. Swap it. The government politically will gain because no more green space, Heroes Park. The government in a win-win situation.
Not the government, the people, Chris.
Well.
The people.
Agreed.
Us, you, me, everybody.
Yes.
I mean, that space is just, oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think
we
both
really
sides
need that.
would be happy on this deal. So
they get high marks for this.
High marks.
High marks.
I think it was brilliant.
Absolutely. That's a good deal. Something I heard that UNESCO recognized boat building in Grenada, in Carriacou. That's a good thing. It shows that culture, that ability there is now recognized internationally.
Yeah, it's a tradition, a strong tradition about building. What goes on in the launch of the boat is a big ceremony, as you may know. And just You know, when you look at what happens in Petit Martinique and Carriacou, this thing, the particular type of wood that had to be sourced,
Yeah.
how you cut it for
Yeah.
the hull, you know, is a rare skill. So you know, it's good
that's
as
a big
recognized,
deal.
you know,
Chris,
so-
regionally though, we still have an issue with the Guyana, Venezuela, but an important development is that Prime Minister Gonzalez and Vincent, in his role in CARICOM and what's the other organization, Latin American organization, he's going to be chairing, he's going to be hosting the leaders, the president of Guyana, president of Venezuela, and I am to understand that the president of Brazil will be also attending this important meeting. I mean, the issue may not be resolved there, but at least what PM Gonzalez is saying, let's have the parties talking. That's an important step. What's your take?
Well,
Yeah.
if I put on my mediation hat, I would say that is the best approach.
Yeah.
When we stop talk and we take our polar positions,
Yeah.
there's only one
Yeah.
thing that happens. We either deteriorate in the discussions of the issues that we're talking about, and this one could be rather explosive because both nations
Yeah.
have certain military apparatus and they'll be supported on either side, Russia on one side,
US.
the US and its allies on the other side. And in the Caribbean, where we kind of operate as a zone of peace, we wouldn't want to see this deteriorate to the point where they engage in open conflict.
Yeah.
So, I mean, PM Gonzalez in interjecting and getting the parties to agree to come and talk is very positive. However, when you listen to recent, pronouncements by Guyana and even Venezuela,
Yeah.
Guyana is firm that they ain't coming to talk anything outside of a prepared agenda and to be focused on the agenda, which involves
Yeah.
their thing at the IC International Court and so on.
International Court of
Arbitration.
Arbitration. Yeah.
So it will be good to see something positive comes out, but based on how they're positioning and how they're projecting,
It's good to talk.
yeah, it's good to
Chris, Gaza, we deal with it at every session here.
Yeah.
Gaza continues. It's now what, 19,000, 20,000. They're now flooding the tunnels with salt water that's going to interfere with their potable water. The suffering continues to no abate. There was an attempt by the Security Council for a Security Council resolution, but this was vetoed by the United States. Of course, the United States continued to supply bombs and to give a kind of, but clearly carte blanche support to Israel. Unacceptable. I mean, the world is condemning this. Everybody else is saying this has to stop, but we see no abate in this. It continues.
Well, the only slight glimmer of hope and light is that you're hearing people in the U.S. Senate and other places now starting to question the carte blanche support to Israel based on what is happening.
Yeah.
And you're hearing the funding that they're requesting for both Israel and Ukraine is being held up now because obviously Republicans and Democrats are on both sides having second thoughts in just giving them what they want.
And Biden is losing support, within the black community and within the other ethnic communities,
So I think that is some degree of glimmer, but that to me would not stop the Israelis from doing what they intended to do. And I don't think they intend to get rid of Hamas will ever happen, no matter how much people you
How do you do? Yeah, I can understand. Chris, the other thing is, of course, COP28 concluded or concluding, and I've been looking at the closing statements or trying to get a handle on the closing document, and it is sad. It is sad. People are playing politics with words like, we talk about fossil fuel here, phasing out, phase down, transitioning away. Nobody want to say, look, if you're going to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius mark, that you have to phase it out. You have to eliminate it, On the upside, you have this loss and damage fund, but it's so minuscule, $700 million. And what the developing countries, poor countries, were saying that the damage value of the damage annually is $400 billion. So it's a facade. It's a joke, But what's your take on the closing situation?
I have been critical from day one about COP 27, COP
Yeah.
28,
Yeah.
26. It seems
Yeah.
as though we go to these meetings to talk and have fun, but
Yeah.
nothing material comes out.
Comes out, yeah.
Although people will say, oh, well, you know, it's a difficult, complex issue. But there's incremental changes from one
Yeah.
COP to the next.
Yeah.
This one is
Yeah.
a classic.
Yeah.
We put on fossil fuels in
Yeah.
the agreement and we cite it as phase down or phase whatever. And to me, there is no tangible way of how they plan to do this. When you see what the EU is planning to do with Europe, what the European Union is planning to do with countries like India, who burn in coal at
Coal,
an
yeah.
alarming rate, and the other, China and so on.
Yeah.
The issue is, can we get this thing to get them to change their policy? Now, what happens to us? The affected islands, the SIDS and
Yeah.
all of us in Samoa and all
Yeah,
of these places, we get in the sea level rise, we get in the bleaching of the seas, we get in everything.
Look at
And
the
these
current
guys
arch, look at,
here talking about, you know, ways and methods and regulations for the same fund. Last COP it was 432 million. They bring it up by 300 million. And yet still they put rules and regulations to access these funds that is taking countries probably years to understand what needs to be involved.
Yeah, a big part of it too, Chris, is the fact that you know, our debt repayment to poor countries leave little to invest in the sectors of climate change mitigation. It's very limited. For, like Grenada, we're paying close to $400 million annually in debt repayments.
Yeah, and you see the climate thing discussion, you know, Byron, is one that we are not the guys who causing the issue, but we are going to be the ones that are going to feel it. You understand? Agriculture, food. There is psychological issues, mental health issues
Yeah,
coming with
yeah,
climate
yeah,
change.
yeah.
And the question is, where will it reach a point where it's breaking point for all of these countries who are supposed to be pledging all this money going to do it? And we will probably have to have some kind of significant disaster one after the next.
other.
But these countries are also having their issues. Canada having wildfires like they've never had
Of
before.
course, Australia.
Floods, yeah, floods happening in the US that I've never seen
Yes,
before.
yes,
So
yes.
the science is showing that these issues are going to get worse. And I am of the view that we would not achieve the 1.2,
1.5, yeah.
but we're going to certainly achieve the 1.5 and beyond if we're not careful.
So we'll
And
keep
probably
we'll
before
keep
2030.
talking about this. I always say what we can do for ourselves. Of course, Chris, the budget debate continues, but we're out of time. We have to go to our special guest. But I've been listening to some, not all. I heard the Minister for the Environment. I thought she was on, you know, very, very good in her presentation. I've not done an analysis of what she said occurred, but just in her presentation and how she summarized, I thought it was well done for a young person. So I say kudos, you know. But what I would like to see, though, because we don't have time, working people, what I would like to see, to listen to the entire debate, what I would like to see someone giving a summary at the end every day of the main issues emerging, you know. Else we don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I
you
think
know.
GBN and all kudos to them have been
Yeah.
trying to do that. I've been focusing this week on it.
On that, excellent.
So I got little excerpts from them and so on. So
Excellent, yeah.
Um,
but the
but-
Senate is meeting, I think, from tomorrow.
yes,
And I know the
and
debate there's always.
we hope.
We hope,
that
yes.
the debate will elevate itself.
Elevate
But before we
itself.
go quickly, Byron,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention the thing with the weapons that the police was able to confiscate
Queen's Park.
at the stadium, no longer Queen's Park, but at the
Yes,
stadium, with the
stadium,
football.
Yeah.
You know, among the youths and our schools, and when you saw some of the weaponry that was photographed and
Scissors,
so on,
knives.
we have a problem. I will leave it there. So.
Cause for concern. Viewers, stay with us. When we get back, we have a packed session for you. We have 4 guests appearing. Some would be on Zoom and some would be present. We're going to have an interesting conversation with the National Training Agency and the whole question of skills development and training for young people and opportunities. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you concerned about the impact of climate change on your home or business? The Enhanced Direct Access Climate Adaptation Revolving Fund at the Grenada Development Bank can make your worries a thing of the past. The fund offers concessional financing to households and businesses, focusing on vulnerable populations such as lower-income families and persons with special needs. You could qualify for up to EC $200,000 with an incredibly low interest rate of just 2% annually. With this funding, you can make essential improvements such as building retaining walls for erosion control, making structural improvements to withstand hurricanes, and installing water-efficient bathroom solutions. Take action today. Contact the GDB at 440-2382 to learn more about how you can apply for this funding opportunity. Let's work together to create a climate-resilient nation. The Enhanced Direct Access project is financed by the Green Climate Fund through the Government of Grenada.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Ho, ho, ho. You better watch out. You better not cry. He making a list and checking it twice. He going to find out
Lord.
who's naughty or nice, who is in the water and who don't close in the pipe. 'Cause Santa Claus is coming to Grenada.
Naughty. Ho, ho, ho. Santa's looking for water champions this year. Would you be one of them?
Good night, viewers, and welcome back to Community Forum. As we indicated earlier at the start of the program, this evening we're talking National Training Agency, who is celebrating their 15th anniversary of being in operation, and their theme is Invest in Your Future with TVET Certification. So we're going to be engaging Ms. Julian, who is the Marketing and Communications Officer, to talk to us. We're going to have Mr. Liston Best, a project manager, again to give us some insight. Joan Gilbert, who is one of the trainers, CDAT, a company that does that. And Ms. Vivek, who is a graduate of NTA, and where she has gone on to, and the areas that she has specialized in. So Q and those on Zoom, welcome to the program. And I will kick off by having my host.
Okay, welcome. Okay, Ms. Julian, good evening. 15 years, National Training Agency. What does it feel like? I mean, 15 years. What has been the accomplishment in 15 years, in a summary of that 15 years? What has the GNTA achieved that is worthy of celebration, let's say?
Well, quite a bit of us have been around for those 15 years,
Yeah.
or from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like the stages of life, you know, you're like a baby, you creep, then you start to walk, then you start to express yourself a little independently, you know. I think right about now we're kind of like teenagers, you know, we're starting to put our foot out there and we're trying to let go mommy and daddy's aprons, but we're not quite adult as yet, but we're getting there. So maybe by the time you get around to the next 5 or 10 years, we'll be definitely adults by then. Yes.
Well, it's good to go directly to one of the beneficiaries, that is, and here I'm talking about Janelle Vivek. Good evening, Ms. Vivek. Good evening. I can't hear you. Ms. Vivek, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Well, I want to say congratulations. You're a graduate, CVQ graduate, first of all, and then you went on to SGU, and now you're pursuing your master's degree in international business. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, just hearing this. But what has this meant to you as a person? Being given that opportunity, what do you have to say to yourself and about to other young persons? What does it mean to you? What did it mean to you?
Okay. I started my journey at CDAT with HR training level 3, and I moved up to management level 4. And after completing that, I decided to, attempt. I wasn't sure what, the outcome would be. Yeah. But I said, you know what, let me give this a shot. I applied to St. George's University and got accepted to the MBA, International Business Program. I guess because I chose vocation, I thought, that I may have had, difficulties and so on. But that was not the case. I more or less graduated the Dean's List, and the material and the training that I received from the Management Level 4 program was, able to help me to navigate through the MBA program. And I was not at a disadvantage in that I was on par with the other persons who would have had their bachelor's degree and so on. So I would really like to encourage persons, because I am an advocate for, training. And I am sharing my success so persons could, follow in my
So where will you be in 5 years? Where will this degree in international business take you? What is it you're pursuing in terms of your career? Where would you be in 5 years? Or where do you want to be in 5 years?
I would like to be an HR manager at some point, or if not the CEO of an organization. When I completed the MBA program, I remember having a conversation with my tutor, Miss Ross. I told her that, she's like, you should continue this thing. So maybe I would continue on the path of education and head for my PhD or doctorate.
Excellent. And I want to go directly to Mr. Liston Best. Of course, we see you as the employer, of course, and you're a project manager, and you're with Creative Designs Construction Limited. And of course, I'm to understand that recently, some 7, 10, I'm not sure the amount, you'll tell us, young persons would have gone through your system, through the TVET system, and are now qualified and trained. What does it mean to your company when you have, and you've experienced this, and you've seen young persons who are now qualified and technically skilled to do the job? What difference does it make to your company, sir?
It's a big difference, because the industry is lacking skilled labor at the moment, and that is across all trades. So when you have the NTA putting out these types of programs to aid and improve the skill level of young people, is beneficial to everybody, not just creative design, but the region and Grenada itself. So for us, it's a proud accomplishment to have taken on this young talent and have them complete the program successfully. And it was also a great accomplishment to retain the young fellas. and not lose them to other companies having, putting forth this investment. So it's a great accomplishment for everyone, not just creative design.
That's good. Thanks. Kay, look, National Training Agency, one of your focus is, of course, providing opportunities for young people to do different skills. One of the things, though, is that we can talk about that, to what extent the education system is designed to, is set up that it brings out or it qualifies young people to meet the skills requirement within the business and within the society. But to do that, you need a demand analysis. So was this ever done? Is this being done? How do you know? How can you advise young persons or persons in general what skills area to pursue, whether it's electronics, whether it's computer engineering or refrigeration technician, whatever it is? How is this determined? What's the gap?
So part of our role, well, our major role is certification, not just of young unskilled labor, but also mainly our workforce, the people in the working people. So we have quite a number of people, as Mr. Best would have said, that are working, but they are there in workplaces, but they are not certified. They are skilled, but they are not certified. So that's a big part of our job as well, or our role at the NTA. But in terms of another role that we do is we work with government agencies to conduct research, labor market research. So we would have done one of these a few years ago in conjunction with the ILO to find out what were the labor market demands from employers. So
in Grenada,
in the local. And one of the things that came out of that survey was that we all know it, the skills gap, the middle management skills gap. Because if you look at our work permits statistics, and you look at the quality of the labor that's imported, it's all mostly at the managerial or middle management. And so a big part of our focus is not just to certify at the lower levels, level 2 and so. And that is why we are so proud that Janelle has done level 3 and level 4 and are going on. We want higher skilled middle managers or managers so that we could reduce our work, the importation of labor into Grenada and use our own skilled workers here.
And I want to finish, please, yes.
Yes, so we have done some research that has shown that we have a gap in the middle management. We also have gap in certain industries. And so we are trying our best to deliver training or to have our training providers deliver training in those areas. An area that we're having struggles filling is like, you realize we have a huge marine sector.
I'm going to come to that because I know about this. I want to talk to you about the marine sector.
But we have to practically import everybody.
Because you don't have the accreditation, or you don't. It is not CVQ certified here. I'm to understand. But I want to go quickly to Ms. Gilbert, Joan Gilbert. You're of course a training provider at the Center for Development and Certification Training. Good evening, Ms. Gilbert.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you.
Study Ali, to the general viewers, good evening.
Good evening. And thank you for joining us at this time. Ms. Gilbert, training provider. But I want you to link me to the trainees. What are you providing in terms of appropriate support? Because you can have young persons that do not have the means to attend the classes. You may have women that have children that they don't have the money for support. How, as a trainer, are you managing this aspect of the program?
Okay, thank you so very much for having me on board. Two things I want to say. I know we spoke about the youth, and I think Kay forgot to mention the fact that we do have prior learning assessment for persons who are actually in the working environment and for some reason fell out of the system. So we do have systems like that in place. From an educational point of view, from CDAT's point of view, the training are taken into twofold. One, where you have persons from the private sector enrolling in classes on their own and they pay their way and so forth. And there you will have some of the funding programs where we provide stipend for students. We provide lunch for students to enable them to attend the various classes.
Okay.
especially persons in the rural area, that sometimes is a challenge for persons to attend classes.
Appropriate action. So this is very important, Chris, I think, in a program. Thank you. Yeah.
So, Ms. Julian, I want to come back to certification because for me, certification means mobility for your graduates.
Yes.
And I know CVQ has been recognized within the CARICOM region and we having a big conversation now to have movement of skills and skilled people by March, free of hindrances. How are you preparing because I listened to Mr. Best, and Mr. Best would have indicated in some degree that we still have a major shortage of workers. And when you listen to the budget, there's a lot of emphasis about skills training, having more skill centers in the schools, and so on. So the issue here is, what is your intake in the program now that could probably fill that gap? Because we have quite a shortage across all the skill areas.
So the NTA is currently doing what we call a sector mapping. So we have hired a consultant to look at all the jobs that are available in Grenada and all the positions that are available, so that we know these are where persons would need to be filled to get jobs. This is where people can get jobs in Grenada. So I think we selected 9 sectors, including the creative sector, agriculture, and so that consultant would look at every single job that's available in agriculture in Grenada, look at what would the different positions, what and who and what and who is needed to fill those positions. So we would know, well, they need employers, because this interview was done with the consultant would have been doing a survey with employers to know, well, we need maybe agro-processors, and so we need to train agro-processors, because these jobs are available. So it does not mean we at NTA we focus on demand-driven training. There's no point in training persons and they cannot find job in Grenada. Yes, they may be able to find jobs in other countries, but we train for Grenada first. So we would train them to fill gaps in Grenada. And if we have surplus, then they can go to other countries and so on. But we are not training them to go to other countries first.
Through a sector too, the tourism sector, hospitality.
Yes.
We have major properties coming on board, Six Senses, others Intercontinental down the road, the one in Liver. And the question is, TAMCC will be doing some training in that sector. How does the NTA link with TAMCC to ensure that we're on the same page and we're ensuring that the right people are being fit? We have enough butlers, we have enough waiters, bar people, and so on. I hear you about middle management, but even at that level, there's a serious shortage.
Yes. So also at NULO, yes, NULO also does culinary as well. So we prepare or we develop the standards that industry will use. And so all of the standards that are required in the tourism sector, we have those standards available for training. Now, part of our resource limitation is that not all of our training providers, we don't even have enough training providers to meet the demand. So we will still have the shortages. If we may still need to import, because we do not have, even the centers that are available, they do not have enough. They may have limitations. Maybe in a year they might be able to take 20 students, or because let's say you're doing cooking, for example. Every student, if you're doing certain pieces, it's competency based. You need to have access to a stove to work, or counter space, or so on. How many students can you accommodate in the kitchen at one time? So you understand where I'm going with this. Or if you're working on automotive, like cars and so, how many cars you would need and how much space? So we have resource limitations.
Question to you, because I hear you, and I hear our figures in unemployment among youth. It is always higher than the norm, the general unemployment. So, and I hear government's strategy of developing more skills training and to fill that, so we could reduce that unemployment level among the youth. So the question for me to you is, does the NTA have a strategic vision, a strategic plan to say in the next 3 to 5 years, these are the centers that we need, this is the gaps we have identified? Can we put investment. Education got the largest chunk of the budget. And the question is, how much of that is NTA going to get for development of centers that can fill and reduce the gap on unemployment among the youth?
So we are working with the Ministry of Education to roll out, first of all, we have our own 3-year strategic plan, but we also working with the Ministry of Education to implement from next year, the national TVET policy. And that policy, like with the areas that government has as priority, things like tourism, fisheries, agriculture, the creative industry, construction, and so on. So we will be working in the focus of the TVET policy is to close the skills gap. And so we'll be looking at things such as access to quality training. So we're working with the ministry, how can we maybe expand training? And they have already started by saying, let's introduce it into the primary schools. Let's have more at the secondary school level. Let's maybe have some more skills centers and assessment centers skills training centers around the country. So that's one way, because like as I said, our 2 major training centers, largest would be NULO and TAMCC, and even they have limitations. Some of our smaller centers like SEDACT and GRACE and so on, they focus on specific areas, sectors. For example, SEDACT, as Ms. Gilbert would share, does mostly business courses. She may do a few other courses too, but she does mostly in the business sector. So we definitely need to work with the ministry and with the government to expand the availability of training centers in Grenada.
So, I mean, the trainers is another resource limitation, because if you don't have trainers in the other skill areas, let's take yachting. I know my host wants to get to yachting. Yachting is such a high-end and such a technical area. The question is, if we don't have the trainers to facilitate that, at this point in time, do we have to change the strategy and invest in that, or get countries who have that to come and
so that's another limitation, the shortage as well of TVET instructors. While we have trained many instructors, maybe close to 400 instructors in Grenada in competency-based education and training, we still need a lot more. There are areas that we can deliver training in if we had the instructors, because we have the training documents, but we don't have the trainers. So we definitely need more. We need more persons who are going into the education system, like the teachers, those who say, I want to teach, who are going into the teacher education programs. A lot of them go in to teach academic programs like chemistry and science and history and so, but we want others that will go into the skill areas as well. So we want a lot more like that. And that comes to the perception of TVET. A lot of people don't want to, they think that the other programs are more elevated. So, I don't want to be a carpentry teacher.
Right. While Chris talks to you, I'm going to talk to your colleagues.
I wanted to ask Mr. Best a
question. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, Mr. Best, I heard your pronouncements on the, how good the program is, but I wanted to ask you about the attitude of the students in the program, and when they work with you and what you encounter. How is that reflective of the skill levels? Because attitude is also a critical part of just not gaining the skill, but how you deploy the skill productively so that we get the kind of returns that we want. How have there been challenges with that from where you sit?
Yes, in some regards, yes. And I think it's more to do with our culture. We tend to mature a bit later than we should. So you tend to find people really maturing around the age of 24, 25 and later. Our bunch were a bit mixed, where we had probably about half the numbers under the age of 25 and just a few just above. Some of them being in the work area before, some just entering. So there was a level of maturity that was needed, guidance, development, growth within themselves as individuals.
And sorry, Mr. Best, a quick intervention. How many in your group were female compared to male?
There were no females. We interviewed, I believe, was six females. Not most of them were not interested after the interview, and I explained to them what the apprenticeship program was about and what they should expect. We were hoping to have some females involved because we do have a few females employed with us directly, but we wasn't fortunate to have that. So we had all males. We started off with 10. 2 dropped off just due to challenges within their own lives, and 8 managed to successfully complete and graduate today.
And do you believe as a result of the physicality of your industry that the females wasn't attracted? I mean, we have a lot of female engineers in your industry, and we have females that are involved in refrigeration, electrical work, plumbing. Do you think it was something to do with physicality, or what if the perception was of gaining skills?
I don't believe so. Some, I believe, was more challenges within their own lives, the distance they had to travel, the time work starts. There were a couple who are more interested in becoming architects or quantity surveyors and stuff like that. The apprenticeship program was basically based and guided by carpentry. So at the end of it, you were supposed to complete with a level 2 certificate in carpentry. That just was not meshing well with the females that we would have interviewed at the time.
See, this is why affirmative action is so important. We found out that in other programs that women, young women generally have particular issues that must be dealt with if they're going to participate. You can't treat all and sundry with the males the same thing, you know, and programs in the design must factor this into consideration and budget for it. So it calls for additional budgeting.
And we have CDAT here. Ms.
Yeah, exactly.
Gilbert,
Ms. Gilbert, because I wanted, you're listening to the conversation, but I wanted to add to it the question of to what extent, given we live in a digital world, to what extent technology is being incorporated in training. Could you explain that to us, please? Yes.
At CDAT, we try to have our students, all our students, by the time they leave our doors, they must be computer literate. So all our classes are taught with the computers. And in addition, we do have a learning platform where the students must, we have the Moodle platform, that's where they have to access the information. Because we are preparing them not just for the vocational, but when they're out in the academic field, they will have to use that system, the learning platform. And as far as possible, our students are, what should I say, maybe 98% competent at the end of the day with the use of technology. Even to make appointments, no longer we use the diary, they will use Google appointments and so forth. So we try to incorporate technology throughout all our courses, from the level 2 to the level 4 courses that we offer.
Okay, and we're going to swing to our Janelle, of course, Ms. Vivek, the CVQ graduate. You've been in the education system, Janelle, for a while. Obviously, if you pursued your degree and then your master's, what about your financial support? Are you unique in that sense? How would it work out for the average person who may be unemployed? Are you unique? Explain how you managed yourself during this period from a financial point of view.
Okay. Initially, I started off with CDAT and I paid my way through. Mrs. Gilbert, she has, a monthly, you can arrange for a payment plan in the event that you can't afford. Additionally, I believe there's funding for programs as well. I think it can be obtained from the ministry, I believe.
Okay.
But for me, I also, when I completed Mrs. Gilbert's program, I paid that cash out of pocket, but I applied for a government scholarship when I got accepted to the St. George's University, and I was given partial scholarship, and I managed to navigate through that. So there are avenues for persons. I believe if I received a scholarship someone else can as well. And I believe, there are ways for persons like us, to make it.
Plus sacrifices. Kay, employers can also chip in as well. Yes. Kay, look, in the budget address, the Minister of Finance outlined that when he was talking about promoting skills and innovation, he talks about OECS Skills and Innovation Project, that they received a concessional loan from the bank of $15 million with the strategic aim of addressing the current skills mismatch that exists between the school systems and the job market. Funding approval is expected from the World Bank this month, and they've allocated in the first instance $700,000 to start this. But of course, they want to put the emphasis and focus on NULO and TAMCC to improve their delivery ability. What is your relationship with NULO and the training institution, and how does this function for a smooth delivery?
So we have like 20 technical institutions, about 20 approved, and another maybe 6 that are working for approval. Yeah. So the National Training Agency is the accreditation body for all technical training institutions in Grenada. So TAMCC, NULO, SEDACT, GRACE, Labucan Creative Center, and a host of others, they are all audited, approved by the NTA to deliver training, technical training, which leads to CVQ certification. So it's a quality assurance process that they must go through. So basically, we work very closely with all of these institutions. We train the instructors that have to deliver in the institutions. We train the assessors that do the assessments. We train the verifiers. We train auditors that have to go do the audits at the schools and the institutions and so on. And we are, at the end of it, they send in the documents to us for certification. So we have a very close relationship with all of these institutions.
So go ahead, Chris.
Because the issue is capacity key. Let's take TAMCC for example. In any 1 year, TAMCC may have 150 students registering for computer technology and skills. The lab could only facilitate 20, 30. So they have to run them in stages and have additional classes running. So the question is, and I hear Byron talk about 700,000, is there a burning need to expand the capacity of these centers? Because plumbing section can't take a lot. Neither could the bricklaying or whatever. And if we want to close those gaps and find carpentry and so on, isn't the emphasis supposed to be on how we expand the capacity of these training centers?
Let's hope that this project that was announced in the project, that somewhere in there, outside of the training component, because at the NTA we deal with the training, but that there will be portions of the project that will deal with capacity building, resource capacity building. And in recent times, a lot of the funding agencies, they haven't been given so much to the capacity. They've been given more to the training side and so on. They have not been putting up buildings or given funding for putting up buildings or that sort of thing. They would more give technical assistance and so on. But let's hope that there is something there that could help with NULO and even TAMCC, but they would need additional land space as well, because NULO is busting to capacity in terms of what they can do there on the site, physical space.
So this is
also TAMCC. So in both cases, and even in the cases of some of our other smaller providers, they all need more space.
So can't we use the schools to get that space? We have a lot of huge secondary schools. And the labs on those schools, probably can't we use the schools?
I know that there was talk in the past of using some schools as centers of excellence. So you might have a school that does very well in, let's say, in woodwork or carpentry. Then they could be a center for several schools or several people to do assessments. Then if you have another one that's very good in garment production, you could use them as a center for that, because they may have the sewing machines and so on. Then you may have another school that has excellent cooking stuff, and you can use them for a center. Again, those schools themselves have to be developed, because we have, over the years, we have not focused as much in our secondary schools on that part of it, the skills development. We have focused more on that. So some schools really have to build up their skills department before we can probably even get to them being centers of excellence.
We have to take a short break now. Viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ho, ho, ho. You better watch out. You better not cry. He making a list and checking it twice. He going to find out who is naughty or nice, who wastes the water and who don't close in the pipe. 'Cause Santa Claus is coming to Grenada.
Naughty. Naughty. Nice. Ho, ho, ho! Santa's looking for water champions this year. Would you be one of them?
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Are you concerned about the impact of climate change on your home or business? The Enhanced Direct Access Climate Adaptation Revolving Fund at the Grenada Development Bank can make your worries a thing of the past. The fund offers concessional financing to households and businesses, focusing on vulnerable populations such as lower-income families and persons with special needs. You could qualify for up to EC $200,000 with an incredibly low interest rate of just 2% annually. With this funding, you can make essential improvements such as building retaining walls for erosion control, making structural improvements to withstand hurricanes, and installing water-efficient bathroom solutions. Take action today. Contact the GDB at 440-2382 to learn more about how you can apply for this funding opportunity. Let's work together to create a climate-resilient nation. The Enhanced Direct Access project is financed by the Green Climate Fund through the Government of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here with Kay Julian and others from the Grenada National Training Agency, and of course they are celebrating 15 years of operations and providing critical development in terms of training of young persons, in particular in CVQs and other skills. Kay, in the same budget document, the government talks about 2 areas they mention is digital skills in areas such as coding and multimedia. But if you take coding, for example, and we look at AI, Chris, that this is due to be obsolete. You know, those AI will essentially do
next disruptor.
necessary coding. So the question is, should we be, knowing this will happen, should we be given focus on coding? But the other questions I have for you.
So there is a Grenada Coding Academy, and they are one of the training centers that we're working with. And we've had meetings with, and they're in the audit process to be audited.
But keep in mind what AI is going to do very quickly. It's going to, Chris, eliminate that. It's going to do it on its own. Is there any relationship? We have hundreds and hundreds of Imanis, young persons in different areas. What does the Grenada National Training Agency link with the Imanis as far as opportunities for training, development, and certification? And the final questions I have for you, you're noting them, Kate, has to do with the point I made about the skills areas that are in demand here, like yachting, for example, and other. We could talk about the digital economy or the creative economy. We don't have the, not just the accreditation, but we don't have the documentation that is required to proceed with this training in Grenada. Neither do we have the trainers. How is the GNTA focusing on this? Because yachting, for example, is going to be big.
That's not necessarily true.
Well, tell us what is correct.
Well, let me first deal with the Imani situation. So we work closely with all of the government ministries, and we work closely with the Ministry of Youth. They're one of our biggest partners at the NTA. So we deliver, and we help them deliver training to quite a number over the years. To the Imani programs, not just Imani, but Empower and all the Aspire and all the other programs that they have. So we develop the standards when we have meetings. If they want training in an area and the training standards are not available, we actually develop the standards, or we access the standards from the region and we approve them for delivery of the training. And so that Ms. Gilbert will tell you that she has done some of the training as well. So the different training centers that work with us would actually deliver or do the training for the Ministry of Youth, and the certification is done through us at the NTA. So we've done quite a lot of that. So the relationship is very close in terms of us certifying quite a large number of the unemployed youth and so on who came through some of the funded programs and so have come from the Imani.
If I'm a young person right now when I'm listening to this program, and let's say I'm interested in plumbing or refrigeration technician, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I call? If I want to get into a program, I want to improve myself.
Well, there are many different ways to do it. So they can go directly to the training centers and ask. So they can go directly to TAMCC or to NULO and register and get into the program, pay their money, whatever. Now the government has waived the fees at those institutions, so they can get in even easier.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, they can come to us at the NTA, and then we will direct them where to go. So if they already have, through their own investigation, know where to go, they can go directly to the center. If they're just looking and they're not sure, then they contact us through our website, through direct means. And then myself as the communications officer or any other officer at the NTA, when we listen to them, and we can give them career guidance as well. We listen to them, so this is what you want to do. We talk to them, and then we direct them as to where they can get the training. No, not everything somebody wants to do is readily available, as you said, in Grenada, because we may not have a training center that's offering it, or we may not have trainers. But wherever possible it can be done, we direct them. Then there are other means, like if persons are financially challenged. No, we don't, at the NTA, we do not provide funding for any training. So they would have to, in that case, go through a funded project. So we would encourage them, as we have been doing in the past, to apply to any funded projects that are out there, or go through the government, like such programs like the Imani program. So then they would apply directly to the government. So we are not involved in that part. We would only be able to give advice as to what people can do.
Standards, and I want to go back to the yachting. It's big now. Grenada is collaborating with St. Vincent. We look throughout our islands on the coastline. We have various yachting facilities, dry docks, where you need various special skills here. What are the standards? What have you moved to? We have worked
with expert marine persons, experts in the different fields, to create and to develop several standards, and plus there are some that already exist in the region that have been approved for use in the Grenada. So it's not that the standards are not available. The standards are available. We have standards such as marine technician, marine electrician, all these things. The standards are available for use. It's to get someone or training provider to come forward to deliver the training.
So
and that is where we don't have, or if there are people out there in the marine world, they have not said, I want to deliver training. So we had explored the possibility of doing an apprenticeship, similar to what was done at Creative Designs in the marine sector, so that workers in the marine sector itself can learn in the different marinas, can learn on the job certain things from the experts, that come into the marinas.
Have you ever explored the use of retirees in those particular sectors to become trainers in the areas where you may not have trainers, for example, marine?
Yes, so they would have, we are still right now exploring the possibility of an apprenticeship, which we think is one of probably the better routes to take in the absence of having a training center that's set up. And there was an organization that ran the marine sector in Grenada, MAYAG, and I'm not sure. You need a group, you need somebody to take the lead on something like that, to set up an organization to actually deliver training. It has to be something independent, or maybe with government help or something
we are
like that.
quickly running out of time here, and I just want to go back briefly to, I was noted on the time, briefly to Ms. Gilbert, because you mentioned about not only the fact that TVET or the National Training Agencies focus on training young people that are not yet in the skill market, but upgrading skills, certification, while they are actually within the existing industries. Ms. Gilbert, what among the people are coming forward? Who are you targeting, and which particular sectors? What is the response there?
We are targeting both the prior persons who are interested in prior learning, that is to upgrade their skills. So for example, they might have been in the industry for several years, but without certification, they can actually be certified with the experience they would have gained and the knowledge they would have gained over the years. So they don't necessarily have to come back in the classroom setting to be certified. So that is a prior learning assessment. And also what we find that most persons now are gravitating to the management level 4 program, which is similar to a first degree program. So for example, at CDAT, we have about 32 persons now pursuing that course. And the interest there is extremely high. We see a lot of young persons who want to get into the management field, and they too are pursuing the courses. But a while ago, you spoke about how many men as against female. At CDAT, I can tell you 99% of the participants are female.
Yeah.
Again,
male extremely scarce, so I know that's an area of concern. Because you do this program, you have graduation, and if you get about 10 male, then you get a lot. So that is an area of concern.
No, but I mean, we just passed, or we'll be passing soon, the minimum wage, which deals with equality in terms of pay for either male or female.
Chris, that's a problem. We have, I've seen this in the programs, where you have a much higher percentage of male dropouts. You know, as they start, but the commitment to complete, if it's 6 months or 9 months of training, even with transportation allowance and meal allowance, you still have a high percentage of dropouts from the male. The young women are completing the program, incomplete. Yeah.
So even with what occurred at Creative, it's an anomaly because that they had 8 men.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, our certification in every year, since we started issuing certifications in 2011, 80-something% of our graduates are female. And at about 24, 25, it's improving in the last few years due to some of the funded projects that we've had that has focused on male. And a lot of the projects now are demanding a sort of more,
ratio.
We're asking for a bigger ratio in terms of having male participants.
Yes.
But definitely we have an issue with having less males being certified. But again, that has to do with the types of training centers and the training that's available.
But
So
it's the attitude of the
training-
male also.
The training that's available, a lot of it is training that attracts women.
Yeah.
So the training, like the more
Social
intense
science.
resource, like the ones that might attract the male, are not being done, like the marine stuff and the
Yeah.
automotive
Yeah.
and a lot of those other refrigeration and all these things. They're not really being done at a great level as the business courses and so on.
What we found is that the
Social science.
male wants money quickly, you know, so it doesn't have that commitment to go through 9 months without
Yeah, but
income.
that's where the
And
apprenticeship
that is why
programs-
it's such a
Apprenticeship work.
great success what happened at Creative,
Creative.
because they stayed in it for a whole year.
Excellent.
And everybody, we were all holding our
Excellent.
breath at the National
Yeah,
Training Agency that whether these men would complete this, because
Yeah.
we know from experience how these men are.
We have to congratulate Creative do it best, and Chris, maybe more businesses should take this
Yeah,
approach. Would your
it-
business take that approach?
We do it on the administrative side,
Side.
as I was explaining to Kay in the break, that on the manufacturing side, it is a specialized training.
Yeah.
And even though they were certified in, say, becoming a process operator in paint, there isn't another paint company. They could travel to other islands.
Precisely, yeah. So
And
there's a
that is-
limitation.
There's
Yeah.
a certain limitation if they want to stay here.
Yeah.
But obviously, certification gives them the flexibility to move and to be recognized.
Yeah.
We try to introduce something like painters. How do we train painters at different levels to become professional? And that was a hard thing to get. But no, I mean, so I think we were one time talking to the ministry to see how we could get it through NTA to have, because you have painters, guys come in and say they could paint and they know absolutely very little about paint.
Or you mix in paint and all the technicalities of it.
That's
Okay,
a
we're
specialized
we're
profession.
running out of time. Any final closing comments? We'd like to give you the opportunity to make.
Just to say that we have had a good run for 15 years, and we are looking forward to the next 15. There's a lot in store. There's a lot happening. We want to roll out the national TVET policy next year, which will focus a lot on access. So all these questions about male participation and so on, we'll be dealing with that. The training of quality assurance, the training of trainers to deliver in different areas. So we have more trainers out there in TVET than we do now. Broadening it into the schools and the primary schools and so on. We'll be working very closely with the Ministry of Education to do that. And generally speaking, engaging more with employers. We want our employers to get on board, to have, because it's for their own benefit. If their workers are more trained, if their workers are trained and they're certified, they'll be more productive because they know exactly what they're doing and that they're doing it the right way. So if we can have more employers coming on board to work with the NTA to get their own staff, not our staff, their staff trained, that they work with every day and certified, that would be great.
Right. I want to, of course, thank Ms. Gilbert, the training provider, and Janelle Vivek. Again, congratulations on your success, achievement. It's a big deal, and we hope that you achieving this will act as a motivation to other young people like yourselves. Congratulations. And of course, Mr. Bess, you know, I mean, you set the example, you set the standards in making the sacrifice to train these young men for a year, you know, and the result is amazing. I want to congratulate you and your company for this bold move. Thank you very much. Kay, thank you.
I want to congratulate Kay and the NTA for the work that they're doing. I was never aware of some of the things until we came on tonight. And I think probably that is something we may need to look at. I'm quite certain the private sector is not aware of the great work you're doing in NTA. We hear about NULO and we hear about these others, but you know.
We oversee all the others.
Yeah, great.
So if I may,
Yes,
just to say that we are very happy and we want to see more higher level certification as well. Like
CPQ 2, 3, 4.
The 3 and the 4 is like
yeah.
what Ms. Vivek has done that will cover and provide that missing skills gap area there for the middle management and the managers and so of companies. So we want those to be filled. So we want more people. So
constant complaint in the hospitality area, middle management.
And we are seeing a lot of that happening now, like SEDACT and Grays and a lot of the other training, a lot of their graduates are going on to higher things. So
that's good.
Excellent.
It's really good.
Thank you very much, viewers. That's all the time we have. Again, we want to thank you for spending the time with us. We, of course, want to thank I recognize our technical staff here for their support and good work. Thank you very much. Good evening, good night. See you next week.
Community Forum came to you in association with the Grenada Development Bank.